Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming by. Today we're going to be doing your your October love reading, and we're going to be diving into how do they actually feel about you. So we're really going to be diving deep into what you need to know, what are any essential downloads that I get in the midst of the reading. Then I'm going to be kind of sharing that with you. As you can tell, there's 3 piles in front of me. This is your standard pick a card reading, and it is designed for all signs. So some of the messages may or may not resonate, and if it resonates, then the message is for you. If it doesn't resonate, it may be a prediction, or it's just simply not for you at this point. So just kind of use your own discernment, take it or leave it. If you are brand new here, first of all, thank you so much for coming by. I so appreciate you. Consider sticking around. If you haven't subscribed already, we chat at least twice a week we do general oracle readings here. We also practice yoga and work with the law of attraction and work with spiritual practices that can really deepen our connection to spirit. So if that sounds good, you will probably like it here. All right, let's take a look at the 3 groups. Take a moment and get centered, and let's dive right in. So here we have group number 1, 2, and 3, in case you were wondering. And as usual, timestamp is going to be in the description. So group number 1, here's your reading. How do they feel about you? What do you need to know? I go where you go. I feel like there is definitely an attraction, and it's almost like something is magnetic, that it's pulling them towards you. And I feel like it's mainly your aura, your energy that kind of pulls them towards you. I think that there's definitely something there where they kind of feel like they need to be around you because you're giving them something that they're not getting anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we're sort of drawn to certain people because we either need to learn from them or they're really healing to us. Like there's definitely something there. Tell me, are you finding that occasional stranger has a crush on you? That for words you've almost mindlessly chosen, hearts broken too long begin to heal. The eyes sometimes well up with tears when it's time to say goodbye. Remarkable. Our findings exactly. Psst, your divinity is showing. The universe. I'm more focused on this message. I think that there is definitely an attraction, but an attraction that I don't even think that they understand. They sort of can't stop that. It's like a magnet, right? Like they're really pulled towards you. And we have Lakshmi, which is all about fortune. I think that is because they are feeling like you represent something bright and positive, and they feel like you're sort of like their lucky streak, where they might feel like they're pulled towards you. Your energy is pulling them towards you because you're a fundamentally different energy than the relationship that they have been in or that they might be currently in. And so that's sort of what kind of pulls them towards you, that they feel like whenever they spend time with you, you bring a form of abundance towards them. And that can be emotional fulfillment. That can be, maybe you bring them abundance in a form of not necessarily like a love connection, but potentially in a form of like, it would be like a good business partnership, or you bring them good fortunes. Like it's almost like whenever they spend time with you, you bring them good vibes. Call back your power, cut the cords, soul retrieval. This, I feel like this is sort of more like a warning for you, because whenever people kind of place you, almost like when they place you on a pedestal, so to say, that can be that they also don't have very strong boundaries, which is interesting because here, look how they're lining up. So I go where you go, and then there's protection. Whether you represent a form of protection for them or they really don't have proper boundaries, one or the other can be true. I feel like this is more for you, where you need to really watch for like how to kind of protect your own energy, because they might not have strong enough boundaries, and they might be kind of crossing some of those boundaries without them even realizing that they are crossing them. And then we have the truth. So I think that here with this, you're going to kind of use your own discernment of like really what is true for you. How do you feel about this connection? But so I think that you're going to kind of weigh in your options, weigh in like really what is it that you're actually looking for, because what you don't want, and again, like these are lining up, right? But I think that when it comes to protecting your own energy, make sure that you know full well what you're getting yourself into, and be realistic about it, right? Because when you kind of free and willingly, like I feel like some of you may be empaths, or you're healers, or you need to really look at like how to kind of protect your own energy, especially when there's such a strong draw towards you. It's going to be very important for you to kind of protect that sacred internal energy that you're generating, even though there is like this really strong magnetism that's happening with this person. So they feel drawn to you, but just make sure that it is in alignment for you as well. Because just because they are drawn to you, that shows that there's something that's aligning for them. That might not mean that there is chemistry there. So don't kind of, basically Spirit is telling me to just find your own discernment and really create your own protection around that, your own protection around your own energy, and really hold that sacred, because that's going to be so important for you. Let's see what the tarot has to say. We have the Devil, the Hangman, the Fool, and the Ace of Wands in reverse. So there's definitely temptation. There's definitely that connection with this person, and they feel like you kind of turn their world upside down. Like you allow them to kind of see their world through a different lens. And I also feel like they might be wanting to kind of start again, go through their own transformation, and really look at things from a lighter perspective, right? Like I feel like perhaps the person that you're dealing with, maybe the protection is not, well, it is going to be for you, but it's also for them as well because of the Ace of Wands. But I feel like they feel really careless and carefree with you. So you represent a lot of different things for them, right? I feel like they feel really drawn to you, and every time they think about you, it's like their sense of abundance, right? Like they feel really like open and light and airy. But then the other thing is that I feel like they feel like taking that leap of faith again. It's almost like they're coming out of like a really crappy relationship with like really terrible boundaries, and somebody who was really taking them not only for granted, but they're really taking like their income, or like they were really like draining them off energetically and financially. And so right now they're just sort of looking at you like this fresh light of fresh air energy, right? And they're so tempted by that. But I think that because there's this issue with the protection, and this is for you, like the protection is for you, because they're sort of just so free and willing to kind of leap forward. They definitely feel like you turn their world upside down in the best way. So I do think that this connection is a positive one, but it comes with a sign of warning, where make sure that you also protect your own energy as well. Because they might not have proper boundaries. You know what I mean? They might be kind of running a little bit too fast before they start learning to walk, right? This is all I have for you guys on this one. Stay tuned until the very end, because I will be pulling a couple of healing mantra cards, that like some of the mantras that you can kind of use to sort of move through this connection in a more healing way. So let's move on to group number 2. Group number 2. Oh, yeehaw. When it comes to choosing who will be in your life, I recommend valuing their yeehaw quality above all others. Have it your way. Special orders don't upset us, the universe. You need to really, I think that they feel like you light them up. Like whenever they spend time with you or whenever you're around them, I feel like they just become super giddy and super lighthearted. And I feel like they also feel like, it's like you bring out like that inner child in them. Like that's how your energy affects them, right? Where they just feel like super lighthearted and energetic. And they definitely feel like they're excited to spend time with you. Then we have Yi, the sun. So with the sun in reverse, with this goddess in reverse, it's as if we really need to focus on, no, like they're just being a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like with this really lighthearted energy, but that can also be really overbearing. So it's sort of like, think of it like when kids are really super excited and they're like super in your face about like going to an event or doing something that they're super excited to do. Well, that's kind of what this feels like to me. So whenever they think about you, they just think, oh my gosh, like we get to do this and this and this and this and this. And again, it kind of goes back to them potentially not understanding proper boundaries, or it's almost like they're taking over certain things, or they like to take over certain things, or it just feels like they're so excited to spend time with you that they forget all limits and bounds. That's what it feels like. Like it's so fresh and new and exhilarating to them that it can be a little too much. A little, like, it's sort of like you feel good when you spend time with them, but at the same time, like it gets to that point where it's just a little bit too much. So just keep that in mind. The crumbling. What are you clinging on to? I think that they're going through a form of transformation where you're potentially helping them through it. I think that there's aspects of their world that is just really shifting and changing, and you represent the way through. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of getting that you represent the way that they can kind of move through it in a more real, more honest way. I think that that's why they're hanging on to you so much, or that's why they're so drawn to you right now. Recognition and reward. I think that make sure that this energy is not a facade. Make sure that this energy is not something that, like, it's almost like it's just time will tell. You know what I mean? Time will tell, because when you need to really pay attention to, like, when you guys spend time together, how does that feel for you? Because I feel like this might be you really being rewarded for it. Perhaps what you're getting out of this is being heard and seen for the way that you are, the way that you show up energetically, which they're so drawn to right now. And so just make sure that it's almost like it comes with a caveat of make sure that it's happening in a way that is also in alignment for you, right? Because if somebody is going through this form of transformation, what you don't want to do is you essentially become their crutch. And that's not an authentic connection. At least it's not an authentic connection where you can create like this nice... Basically, you don't want to be somebody's crutch. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let's see what the tarot has to say. So we have the Ace of Pentacles. We have the High Priestess in reverse. You have the Empress in reverse, and we have the Ace of Swords. It's like you're their like pot of gold. You know, as they're going through this transformation, they're also finding more abundance with you, which is why they're so excited about it. And you're getting the recognition, you're getting that attention. But just keep in mind that they are essentially going through their own tower moment, where like aspects of their relationship and of their life is sort of falling apart, or it's shifting, or it's changing, you know. With the High Priestess, I feel like that's what you represent to them, or that's sort of that energy that it's like they're being really bossy. You know what I mean? Like being, or that's what's kind of falling apart. You know? Like that really divine feminine nature where it's almost like they need somebody to, because like both of them are in reverse, right? I feel like they need someone who can help them kind of guide and navigate things through. You know what I mean? That's how they think of you. They think of you as, like, I feel like this is more of a longing than anything else. I feel like this energy of this high priestess energy of, you know, somebody who's confident and self-assured, but also understands how to be strong in their feminine. That's what they're longing for, or it might be that that's what they're coming out of, or that's what they kind of see you as. You know what I mean? This is how they're showing up for sure. And then with the Empress energy, I think that like you also represent a sense of like longing to be grounded. I feel like there's definitely that energy of like this is sort of what they need. They need that sense of feeling close to nature, feeling close to the earth, feeling like all things are like in full alignment, but they're having a, like right now they're having a hard time to really getting to that point and cutting through it all, because it's like they need to kind of walk through this first. You know, they need to kind of let all of the things around them kind of fall into place before they can really fully show up as the partner that you need. Yeah, interesting, because it's like things are in alignment, but it's like you're each sort of getting a little bits and pieces of each other that are like not in full alignment. Isn't that interesting? This is all I have for you. I hope that this has resonated. This was an interesting one for me. Stay tuned until the very end. I will be pulling a couple of healing mantra cards so that you can kind of see how you can kind of bring everything back into balance. So let's go into group number 3. And finally, we have group number 3. Let's see what's coming up for you and how do they really feel about you. Dwell on what you love. Asking someone to change is like pruning a tree. Neither will ever be the same. Scarier still is that you can't quite know in what direction they will grow. They enjoy, like they like you, but there's certain things about you that they wish that they could change. And I don't know what that is. Where they like you, like they're really drawn to you, but then there's something that they're just like, it would be perfect if alliance. And this was in reverse. So I feel like what they wish that they could change is really if things would align a little bit better for them and for you. It's almost like whether it's with timing, like something is just not aligning the way that they want to, or that they're not seeing how it could align better. And I think it's because they are scared to do something different, be with someone different. I think that you represent something fundamentally different than what they're used to, and I think that scares them. But I also feel like it's easier for them to just blame it on, well, we're just not in alignment, or it's easier to blame it on like timing, alignment, or the way that you guys could come together. It's easier to kind of find these little nitpicky things, and then you're sort of looking at it like, okay, well, I'm not going to fundamentally change who I am just so that I can be good enough for you. There's a feeling of unease that sets in when you are in an unhealthy power dynamic with another person, and as a result, they may compete with and blame others for your discomfort, just as the goddess Hera did when faced with evidence of the many betrayals of her husband Zeus, king of god of Olympus. Like she did, you might even stand up for someone who abuses their power to avoid seeing your own role in perpetuating the myth that you need to be a certain way to be accepted or valued. You may think that benefits of your willful blindness outweigh the price you're paying, but Hera knows that this will not serve you as an empowered sovereign person. Fear and denial will make for a potent hypnosis, one that's passed down generation to generation. No one chooses this dynamic intentionally, and you may have stayed in a disrespectful relationship because you felt, I feel like they feel like they are, there's definitely a dynamic difference, and perhaps it's almost like I'm getting fear, like they are, yeah, definitely fear, because they're sort of dwelling on this, that if they move forward with you, then there's going to be a dynamic difference, you know, and all that is that they're just scared to kind of move forward. But they're scared to move forward because they're insecure, and they're scared to take a chance on something different. So it's almost like, actually, I feel like this alliance has more to do with their current connection than the way that they feel about you. You know what I mean? I feel like they're definitely getting that inkling that they should take a chance, but definitely there's definitely that dwelling of like, oh, what should I do? Like maybe they're currently in a relationship, or they're getting out of this relationship, but there's definitely this lingering energy around them that makes them kind of wonder. It's almost like a fear of like repeating the past mistakes, right? Sacrificed, yeah. And I think that they also kind of feel like they're sort of sacrificing, not like stringing you along, you know, rather than just taking a chance. I feel like there's also a sense of shame with this. Okay, let's see what the tarot has to say. We have the Chariot, Five of Swords, the Magician, and the Moon. I feel like they might think that if they lean into this connection with you, then things will go fast, you know? And there's also that sense of, I don't think that they're truly healed from the pains of the past. But I also think that they feel like that you represent something that is in alignment, and it's in alignment for them, but there's still that sense of fear, like, oh my God, like what if it works out, right? And I think that emotionally they're very drawn to you, you know? But I think that when it comes right down to it, it's these two things. It's the alliance, where they might be in a connection right now that is so not in alignment for them, or they're in a relationship that's really, they're enabling each other, where it's not fulfilling either parties, but it's easier it's comfortable, right? Like you don't have to really step out of that bubble that you created. And then when they think of you, they kind of think of it like, okay, things could go pretty quickly, which they might not be used to. And then they also have these other problems that they kind of need to deal with. So it's easier for them to just sort of create distance. Like I'm getting distance more than anything else right now. There's definitely that sense of sacrifice, like they are sort of feeling like they're willing to sacrifice their happiness for comfort. You know what I mean? But then they're also feeling like, this to me represents the what if. What if we go down this path together? What would happen? And to be honest, like what would happen is you would probably pick up momentum, and you would actually listen more to your intuition than anything else, so that you can bring things in alignment, you know? Because I think that they are sort of ready to make changes, but they are still like, there's definitely that sense of fear, and then they still need to cut the ties with whoever they're connected to. And the thing is that they don't even need to be in a current relationship in order for them to be connected to that person. I think that they're just like that lingering energy of constantly tapping back into what was in the past, that they're sort of comparing the past to the present. So when they kind of think about you, there's definitely that sense of hesitation of moving forward, whether you're together right now or not, but moving forward in a deeper, more intimate way, like just deepening the connection with you. So if you're finding that there's sort of that block, well, that's essentially what that is, that they might still be comparing their past mistakes to current events, which has nothing to do with one another. So until they kind of cut ties with that, they're going to have a really hard time deepening the connection with you, because you're always being compared to this phantom that doesn't actually exist, right? This is all I have for you guys. I hope that you found this helpful and useful. Stay tuned until the very end so I can pull a couple of healing mantras that I think will help you and bring things into more alignment. So let's go. Okay, you guys, we've made it to the end. First of all, thank you so much for sticking around. I wanted to pull a couple of healing mantras that each of you can kind of use to bring things more into alignment moving into October. I think that it's going to be an energetically charged month for sure. If you're not already feeling it, I'm feeling it for you. Yep, popped right out. So here's what we got. We've got uncovering confidence. I am the missing piece that completes the puzzle of the universe. Then we have sharing shame. When I share my deepest pain, I give myself permission to be. And dissolving judgment. I don't have to like the actions of others in order to love my journey. Isn't that funny how these are actually like all in alignment? Okay, let's start with you first. So finding your inner confidence, finding that inner wisdom is going to be very important for you guys, because when you realize that you are that missing piece that can kind of allow you to feel deeper and like, basically to me this is all about aligning your own energy so that it changes your circumstances, right? Shame. I think that when, like, for some of you, you're going to be going through this sense of healing for the month where you are really allowing the things to come through that actually needs to come through so that it can be witnessed and shared with others, because then that way you're being seen and heard, and that can be a really big part of healing emotionally and allowing your emotions to be validated, right? And dissolving any emotional attachments that you may have to how things should be, and just allowing them to be exactly what they are, and know that that's sort of part of your path. And you don't have to attach to it, you don't have to add meaning to it, you just have to let them be what they are, because it's sort of meant to kind of guide you along your path or direct you in the right direction. I hope that you have found this helpful and useful, you guys. This is all I have for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you also subscribe to the channel if you have not yet already. I will be doing a lot more readings like this, but there's going to be a lot more extended that I'm going to be including. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy extended. And thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again in my next one. Bye.